Hello and welcome. Okay, so I think we are live. I'm just checking my other screen, but I think we are live, and for some reason I cannot comment over there. I'm in the wrong screen obviously, but anyway, that's okay. I can see myself, that's all I need to do. I hope everyone is well this Thursday morning in Australia. Be Wednesday evening in US side. Hello Sharon. It's good to see you here. Now if you are coming on the replay, Sharon is my little spanner today. She's got a spanner beside her name. If you are coming in live, Sharon is the person to speak to if I get engrossed with crafting and don't see your comments. All right, we are creating on the go today. I am using the Kinstugi Inspirations, it's actually called something else. Inspiring Imperfections bundle. Let me grab it. We'll move over to the craft desk and have a little look. I haven't actually got a completed card to show you ahead of time. I've got a heap of bits, but I haven't got a completed card, so we'll run with it in case I need to change things up as we go along. You can help me with that. Okay, I'm just going to duck away for a quick sec. I'll pop it over to my craft desk. I just need to grab one more thing and I'll be back in just a sec. This on my craft desk. I've got a bit of flicker going on here today. I'm not sure why. I'm just going to turn the light off at the same time. Is that any better? That is better, isn't it? So it's the big overhead light that's making the flicker. Yes, that's definitely helped. So turn that off and just use my desk light and we should be good. You probably can't hear me because I've taken my microphone off. I'll just pop that back on. All right, back again. Hello Barb, how are you today? All right, let me get myself sorted here. So we're going to create a card with this little bundle. Now I have used this one lots because I did an online class with, hello Monica, I did an online class with another demonstrator in Australia called Fiona Fernandez. We did that last month, and so I have used this one a lot. Definitely got my money's worth out of this particular set with the dies. We're using the stamp and the dies today, but not the paper. I'm creating for Colour Inspiration Challenge number, let me have a look, 196. So that's the graphic for the Colour Inspiration Challenge, which started last night and will run for 2 weeks. It is a really interesting colour combination. So Shy Shamrock and Summer Splash, one's a greeny colour and one's a bluey greeny colour. So they're quite similar, and then a couple of neutrals thrown in. It's a really interesting colour combination, and it is the projects that are in the designer's album are well worth going and having a look at. They're the colours that we're using today. Shy Shamrock, try and say that quickly. Shy Shamrock, Summer Splash, Grey Granite, Early Espresso. All right, let's go back to my desktop, and I've got my ink pads out here. We're going to do a couple of different things today, and we're going to do a little bit of, well, I did some experimenting last night, so I'm going to show you what my results were. So I'm going to start off with my base card, which I'm going to use Early Espresso as my base card. So it's already got a dark vibe to it. And I'm going to highlight the colours, the Shy Shamrock and the Summer Splash, in a smaller part of the front of the card, so that the Early Espresso is not just being hidden in the base card. We'll actually feature it. So to do that, I'm going to do some stamping on there with the little floral image out of Inspiring Imperfections, this little one here. It doesn't really have, it's got this little one, but it doesn't really have any other foliage stamps, so we'll use that one as a background, and we'll stamp in the same colour, so Early Espresso. All right, so let me get off my little seat here, move over in front of my class desk. So as you might have seen at the start, I'm still in the living room. Could be here for a while at this rate. So we'll just add the little flower just around the edges. I'm not stamping off full strength. Just, oops, that didn't come out very well. Let's try that again, shall we? So we are going to have something in the middle, so we don't necessarily need to totally fill in the middle. That looks okay. Fill in a few of the little gaps. This may show, so I'm going to do one down into there, and I'll do one here and one up here. Just in case, oh, I'll better do one down here too. Why not? Let's just do them everywhere. Okay. So now we've got a very messy looking front with lots of flowers. Pop that little, actually I'll need to clean that off. Now today I do have out my Stampin' Scrub over here, because we will be using it. I haven't pulled out my Stampin' Scrub to use in Alive for a long time. I just usually use the chamois. Put a bit of But when I joined Stampin' Up a long time ago, this was one of the reasons. It's not quite the same format. It was a little black case back in the days when I joined. It was very similar. So it's got a wet side and a dry side. It cleans up the stamps beautifully, but we will need that today. Close this up, and we'll start working on the feature piece that's going to go in the middle. Now, I did a few different options. I'm going to use Shamrock as my background, so I'll grab a piece of Shamrock cardstock. Now, did I bring my trimmer with me here? Because I'm going to need a trimmer. Do I have one? This is the hard thing about doing videos and working in the place where your craft things aren't. Just bear with me while I go and get my trimmer. Ta-da! And I even remembered to take my microphone out of my pocket. So I didn't rip everything off the table as I left. All right, so we're going to need a piece of Shamrock as a base layer. And we're going to, as I said, make it quite small. Trying to remember what measurements I use. 7.2. 11.3, something like that. 7.2 by 11.3, that's a bit random, isn't it? Let's try that. Uh-oh, just dropped the score tool. So what did I say, 7.2? This is centimetres, by the way, by 11.3. Now I will do some metric measurements, and I promise, put them up in the Blue Mushroom group. Now I haven't even posted a notification of the live in the Blue Mushroom group this morning. I'm so not organised. You must be all used to me by now, surely. Alright, there's my scoring blade black. Can't leave them on the floor, otherwise the dog chews them. So that's going to be our base layer in the Shamrock. Oh, I'll need this again because I'm going to watercolour a piece to go on that. So I've got some Fluid 100 watercolour paper, and I'm going to make it 3 millimeters shorter. So what did I say that was? 6.9 by 7.3. Let me measure that. 7.2. So it'll be 6.9 by 11. Oh, it's too early in the morning. It's not really early in the morning, it's lunchtime. But it's pre-coffee. 6.9 by 11. Pop that aside because we'll use that in a minute. And that's going to fit onto that little piece like this. There we go. Alright, let's put this aside for a sec. Somewhere. So it doesn't fall off. Right, I'm so glad you can't see me at the same time as my craft desk. Honestly. I'm going to watercolour this piece and I'm going to do that in Shamrock. Now I did experiment yesterday a little bit. Thought I'll cheat. I'm not going to do anything with this background, so I cut a few pieces of the designer series paper that comes in the colours in the different patterns, and I tried a few different ones, but the way that I'm going to lay my vases out really needed something a little less busy than these patterns, so I've ended up going with watercolouring. So I'll grab some paper towel. And we'll need a block. Ta-da! And some Shamrock ink. Just pop this down on there on a block. You can also squeeze it into the top, and I do sometimes, but this might need a little bit more ink than is in there. I have a jar of water here and an aqua painter, or a water brush. So I'm using the larger nib, the larger brush in the set of water brushes. This does have water in it, but I also like to use the jar of water when I'm wanting, especially for backgrounds. So all I'm going to do is just put some water down onto here, just to give it a bit of a wet area for me to put my ink into. And then we will need some water on here. Now, there's no rhyme or reason to this. Just going to put the colour down and then just pull it into the areas where I've got the water and sort of smoosh it around. We see some little marks on this paper. So I'm not being really fussy, just la-di-da-di-da-di-da, adding some watercolour in there. Okay, now I want to add some darker, I really want it to look like a multi-layered watercolour piece. You could just leave it like that, but I want to add a little bit of texture. So I'm going to just quickly dry that. Now, I'll grab my heat tool and let me know, I haven't been watching the comments, let me know, you love scrub cleaning. Yeah, I don't pull it out. I do it after class, I go through and clean my stamps, but on a day-to-day basis I tend to just use the chamois, and the standard scrub gets everything so much cleaner. Right, so we want to dry that off a little bit. Hope that noise is not too loud. Set that down for a sec. It's not totally dry, but it's drying up. I have no idea what all these little marks are on here. Looks like I've scribbled on there with something. That'll just add to the texture. Now I want to bring in a little bit more colour, so I'm not going to add any more water. I'm just going to come in with the straight, well not straight, it's all watered down, but the ink like this, you can see it's a bit darker now. I will need more water. And just push that ink up and around the place, but you don't want to go over everything you've gone over already, because you want that nice watercolour edge to things. Okay, I'll just be None of them ever come out the same, and mine always end up totally different. Let's try that one. And then this, I'm just going to clean that off and add a little bit more ink onto here. Just to give it a little bit more depth. You can see the different shades that you get with the inks. Alright, now we're going to just add a little bit more. Let it be messy. Don't stress, let it be messy. Just do whatever. Okay, now I'm not going to waste this ink. I'm going to splatter it down onto the piece. Give me some splatter, it'll give me some darker areas. Just get rid of that excess there, and that's my background. So the trick here is to go with the flow and try not to I never used to be very good at this. I wanted it to be perfect, especially if I was going off someone else's design or tutorial, and I wanted it to look just like theirs. It's never going to look just like theirs. And in fact, this doesn't look anything like the one that I did earlier. This one looks like a bit of a hot mess. Okay, and that's going to pop onto here, so we'll do that. Now I've just gone and plonked that down onto my watercolour paper, which is a bit wet, so that might even add some more texture to it. My fingers in the ink on the back. Tell you, I'm the klutziest crafter in the world. And it's actually, you would think that maybe I'm a little bit nervous from being live, but honestly it's not. I'm just klutzy. Alright, so we've got a bit of a messy looking shy shamrock background going on there. Let's move on. That's going to sit in the middle of the card, like that. So we're still going to see lots of this texture and the early espresso around the outside. And now we're going to do some watercoloured vases from that Kinstugi set. I keep calling it Kinstugi, but it's actually Inspiring Imperfections or something ridiculously difficult to remember. I will need some more watercolour paper. Here we go. Now, this is where I did some experimenting last night. I'm going to use StazOn ink because I am watercolouring. Now, if you know me, you will know that I have, just going to check how inked up this is. I think it might need a little bit more ink. Just lately I've been using the, oh that's brown. Brown ink. That's not, well, I suppose that could be early espresso then, couldn't it? I'll just take some of that off the top of there. Looks alright. We're going to run with it. I've got picked up the wrong ink refill, that's Saddle Brown, which I've just put into my StazOn black ink. Let's just see how that goes, shall we? It can be early espresso. It'll be fine. I'm looking for something. The stamps. So I've pulled out the vase and the bowl from the stamp set, and this is why I've pulled out the just making some space here, why I've pulled out the Stampin' Scrub. Sorry, I'm losing my words. Because we're using photopolymer stamps. Now, some people will tell you that you can't use StazOn on a photopolymer stamp. And yes, there could be an issue if you left the StazOn on there for any length of time, or you didn't clean it off properly. So whenever you're using StazOn, even on a rubber stamp, I always recommend having the Stampin' Scrub ready. You will need your StazOn cleaner as well to take the majority of the ink off, but in my opinion it's the StazOn cleaner that is that's interesting. What have I done? I've knocked my mouse. Hold on, we're back again. Honestly, my lives are so chaotic. I'm going to move my mouse off my table. I hit the mouse and we went back to face to face. See you, Monica. Oh dear. Okay. Chaos reigns. So I've moved the mouse, so now I shouldn't knock anything. But yes, photopolymer, generally not recommended for StazOn, but there's no reason why you can't use it as long as you clean your stamp off really well. Now let's see if this has enough ink in it. And I want to show you the difference, because this is the one here I did, and I did that one with, see how brown this is now that I've inked up my, oh, that looks pretty good, not too brown. I did one with, oh gosh, did one with Memento over here, and I just want to show you the difference. So we'll do a vase here. This is black brown, and I'm going to do a flower, but that's for the inside mainly. I'm not going to use that on the outside. We'll put that on the inside. Right. So the reason I was inking my StazOn is your StazOn always works better if you give it a little bit of a re-ink every now and then. So the two things that you'll need with StazOn are a re-inker, because it does dry out quickly, and a cleaner. So the cleaner, in my opinion, is what's so harsh for the stamps. It's a solvent-based cleaner, so it will dissolve all that ink, but it also isn't great for photopolymer. Now the news is that Stampin' Up are moving away from the rubber and moving towards photopolymer, so we have to come up with a way of using everything. So I just have to get a cloth, just pulling everything off the table with my microphone in my pocket. Right, so I've just got an old cloth and I'm going to take the majority of the ink off. It does get the ink off really, really well. Take that off with my cloth. Not this, don't put them in there with your StazOn cleaner on them. You need to get rid of what you can of the cleaner first. Cleans them up wonderfully, and if you've got ink, stamps, like this one was quite red, and it's taken a lot of that red colour off it as well. But now what you want to do is make sure that you take any vestige of the StazOn cleaner off your stamp. So with your Stampin' Scrub, I'll just move all of this out of the road. I mark my one side wet and the other side dry, so that I know that this is the one I always spritz with my cleaner, and then I can take that solvent-based cleaner totally off my stamp. Dry it on the other side, and you end up with all of that solvent-based cleaner gone. What you don't want to leave it on there, it can make your stamps feel a little bit sticky, and I think that's the reaction of the cleaner with the photopolymer. Now I'm not, this is just my personal experience. everyone seems to have different opinions on whether you can use StazOn with photopolymer, but I just feel you can, but you need to clean them really well afterwards to get all of that cleaner off your stamps. And I don't seem to have had any issues with the ones that I have used StazOn with my photopolymer. You can see this one has some marks in it, but that gets marks in it from the Memento ink as well. So we'll put those aside. So I've got my images here. Now these are the ones that I coloured last night, and I've used Memento for this one. I did some with StazOn as well, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see them when they're cut out. I'll pop them down like this, shall I? But for me, after I'd watercoloured them, the StazOn held its stamped image really, really well. The Memento has just bled a little bit. It's a little bit fuzzy. It's a darker image and it's a little bit fuzzy. But hey, if you don't have a StazOn or you're not comfortable with using StazOn with your photopolymer stamps, then this still looks okay. Let me see if I can get it to focus. It still looks okay, hey? So you can use your Memento black ink, or if you have an old archival black ink, that will work as well. But for this purpose, I just like the way that the StazOn held its, and because we're going to further work onto this after we've watercoloured it, it held the stamped image really well. So that's what I'm using here. So a lovely black-brown stamped image. It actually doesn't look too bad. I think I might have saved it by pulling most of the ink off the top. So we're going to watercolour these. Oops. So we will need some colouring. So I'm going to use some more Shy Shamrock, a little bit of the Summer Splash. So we're bringing in that blue colour. And a little bit of grey granite. So we're moving on to the fourth colour now in our colour mix, which is the grey granite. I'm using a finer, the water brushes come with three. You get a fine one, a medium one with a fine point, and then a big wide one for doing big backgrounds. So I'm going to use the smallest one. And we'll need some paper towel, which I had here a minute ago. It's right here. Okay. So let's work with this. It does have water in the barrel, so I'm just going to do my Summer Splash first, squeeze a little bit out, take the excess off onto my paper towel so that my brush is not too wet, so that it doesn't flood the image, and we're just going to quickly do the leaf parts of the image in thing. Now I can zoom you in, except I don't have my mouse anymore because I moved it. I'll bring it back. I'm going to zoom you in if I can, so that this is easier to see. Look at that. Now just remind me to zoom it out. Hello Brenda, one of your fave stamp sets? Excellent. Yes, as I said before, I've got a lot of use out of it because we did a class with it, an online class with Fiona. So I'm very happy that I've got so much use out of it, and I absolutely love the vases. I feel like there's so many ways you can utilise both the dies and the stamps to create totally different looks. Now, again, I am not being too super fussy. So in my last couple of lives, seem to be a lot lately, I've been using the watercolour pencils. So today I'm back to ink pads, mainly because this is for a colour challenge and I wanted to be true to the colours, and the watercolour pencils don't have these colours in them. So anything that looks like leafage is going to be green. Do these little leaves here. I am going to come back in, so don't stress that, oh, she's looking very rough there. because I am going to come back in. So these ones should be pretty dry by now, so I'm just going to come back in and add that extra texture. But you need to just let them settle and dry, otherwise they all just totally blends in. I'm looking for that watercolour look. Just add in. I can fill in any bits that I may have missed. Dot, dot. Just like that. So now we will put that aside and we will move on to the Summer Splash, the bluey colour. Just clean my brush off. Throw a little bit of water down in there, and I'm going to do the flowers in the bluey colour. Just tap those in to the flower, another one up here. And we'll do this flower. See, I'm really not very proficient. I go outside the lines all the time, but I don't care. Just put a bit of shading in the base of that, and then we'll do these flowers over in this little vase. Just that one. I'm going to leave the other little flowers white. Now I'll come back in and throw a few extra bits in here. There we go. That's the colour part of our vases. Just clean this off, and we'll now move on and do the grey granite. But I am going to dry that first because I don't want the other colour, the darker brown, to bleed into the blues and greens. Thank you, Brenda. Now, grey granite vase, probably not your traditional vase colours, but it's the colour of the challenge, so I'm running with it. Could have left it white, but then I feel I wouldn't have really focused on the grey granite, which is, I like to try and focus on the colours in the colour challenge, but you don't have to. You could just use a little touch of it and that would be enough. So I'm making that, these inside bits of the vase darker. And now I'm going to carefully come down the edges. Now I've determined that for this vase the light is going to come directly from the front. So I want to leave a highlight piece in the middle. So I'm just working down the outside. Alright, so now I want to make this a little bit lighter. I'm just going to go over the edges of where I was before. Now you see I'm leaving, there's quite a few little, I'm not sure if you can see with the quality of the screen here, but I'm not trying to colour in every single little piece. There are little white bits, and you will find those in a lot of watercolour images, the little lighter white bits which create little specks of highlight. So I've just brought it in a little bit further with the lighter colouring, And now I'm going to take most of this off and just work with a wet brush and just pull that colour in. Now I'm trying to avoid the greeny blue bits because I don't want that colour mixed in, but having dried it beforehand does help. It just means that it won't automatically bleed out into your brown if you accidentally touch it with the brown colour. And I'll just, that's all wet in the middle now, so it should blend in quite well if you just add a little few touches of the brown where you can see lines. So that's my vase with the highlight down the middle. I'll do the same with this one, but I'm going to leave that band of texture around the top as white, and I'm going to try and leave these other little flowers white. A bit lighter in the middle bits, and then with just plain water now I am going to come back, this is dry now, so I'm going to come back with a slightly darker bit in my brush and just do right down the very edges. And the same over here. And then we'll do in these top bits again just to make them shadow in there, so we'll make them quite dark. There we go. So that's my, oops, I'm going off screen. So that's my, so I made these bits quite dark. So there's my vases done and dusted. Now they need to be dried before I die cut them. So I'll just give those a quick little blast with my heat tool. Thank you, Brenda. We've come up with lots and lots of ways to create different vases in the class that we did, so there's so many different things that you can do with this set. So many. It's quite lovely, really, to have a set that gives you so many options. You don't always have to do the pattern vases either. You can do a straight die cut vase and decorate it with the embossing folder. So I'm going to die cut all these. So I'm just going to quickly run over a little bit of tape to hold them in place and quickly run over and die cut them. That's the little bottle and then the vase. So that this die does leave a little white edge around the outside. Stem in the right place, and I will be back in a sec. Okay, so here we go. Now, take all these dies off and put them back on the thing so they don't get thrown away with the scrap paper. And now we've got a little flower for ready. I'll put that aside because we'll put that on the inside, and we've got the two vases. Now, in my mind, the two vases were, I'm just going to move all my inks out of the road. The two vases were looking a little flat. So I'm going to add a little bit of enamelling so that these here look like they've been enamelled. So to do that, we will need some clear embossing powder. Versamark, sounds like my hubby might be home. Coming in to pick up his phone that he left behind this morning. So we'll just make a bit of space. And I'm going to zoom you out, if I can find my mouse, so that we can see what, not too far, just a little bit. I'm loving this new setup where I can, as I remember to zoom in and out, let it focus again. There we go. All right, so that should be enough, I think. So I'm going to grab, so you know the sets of blender pens that you get that have got 3 blender pens in them. I go through a lot of them, and they get old. Now this is one we used in class the other day, and it was actually empty. We were trying to use it, and it didn't have any fluid left in it. It's dried out, and they do dry out eventually. So I keep all mine. I will mark this one with Versamark, and I will keep it just for Versamark. I've got one that is just for using with white ink, and one that I've got, or a couple now that I've got that I use just for Versamark. So I'm going to apply my Versamark to my little vase over the flowers. So we'll grab the Versamark, and I'm going to work straight off the top of the ink pad. However, I am going to add some, if I can find it. It does work better. Yeah, I did have it out this morning, and it's here. So it is here somewhere. Here it is. Got my Versamark ink refill, and I'm just going to add some to here, because it does help if you've get quite a lot of Versamark on your brush. So you can see I've made a little puddle of Versamark there, and that's what I'm going to work out of. Here's the one I used this morning, I think. This end. Yeah, we'll use that end. So I'm just going to pick this up. Now before I start, I'm going to grab my embossing buddy, and I'm going to fluff the 2 vases. This also helps because it adds a little bit of a, yeah. Oh, just a sec, ladies. Lauren Rain, Lauren Rain. Yeah. She had an issue with a car this morning, so she rang. She'll talk to you tonight about it. Okay. So I'm just going to fluff those, and you can see now they've gone up even more dull looking. So let's put a little bit of white powder. It does help show me where I've already coloured. So we'll pick up some of the, let's do this one first, some of the Versamark, and I probably do need to be zoomed in a little bit more now, don't I? Let's zoom you in a little bit more so I can see what I'm doing. I've just got to remember to stay in screen. Okay, so I'm going to add the Versamark to the leaves and the flowers. Like so. And it's easy for me to see where I've been because it takes the white powder off and makes it go quite dark. So I also want these little black marks to look like they're enamelled, so I'm going to go over those. And over the little flowers. You don't have to be perfect because it really doesn't matter. If you go, I don't even know if you can see where the Versamark is on there in the light. A little bit. But it's gone less powdery looking. So I'm going to throw that into my clear embossing powder, and I'll just let that sit for a minute while I do this vase. So I'm going to put this one over here. Can't probably see it over there, just so that I'm not refocusing. Okay, so again, all the leaves, all the flowers, and all of the little white, that's white, all of the little black lines are going to be coloured or gone over with the Versamark. Add a little bit more, I think. This way, I could have put this on a block, this the Versamark ink, but then it's a bit wasted because you end up with a lot left over. But if you're doing it on top of your pad, then it just goes into your pad and it's not wasted. So some of you may have in your stash an old Versamark pen. You used to be able to buy the Versamark pens. Now they also run out of ink after a while, but if you've got one, it might be worth pulling out and just seeing if it does have any ink in it. But this is a great alternative for adding specific areas of embossing to anything that you want to. As you can see, I'm just following the those darker lines. And they're easy to see because the powder has shown me where I haven't put any ink. Alright, so then we'll do the same with that, and we'll tip that upside down in the embossing powder. Let's move this out of the road. Get this out of the road. I will use my little tray here. If you could see the mess that I get in here, there is a lid for this somewhere. Here we go. So now I'm going to use my little tweezers, which badly need a clean, and I can pick these up in the top areas because there's no embossing there. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there's powder all over where I put the embossing powder. So I'm just going to grab my heat tool and we will heat that. Let me see if I can get that to focus. I might just flick my light up a bit. Oh, is that better? I don't know if you can actually see that or not. Oh, there we go. So now it's got a raised up clear effect on the top of the vase, and the grey granite areas are quite, I need to clean this off. It's got embossing powder on it, which then heats. Right, let's pick up this other one. Just put a bit of a tap off. There we go. And you know, if the embossing powder does get everywhere, it shouldn't, because I've dried the piece before I started. But if it does get in other places, it doesn't really matter. And they become quite bright and just gives it that little bit of shine. All right, now I am going to, I don't know if you can see, but some of the patches of embossing are a little, not where I'm trying to focus here for you. There we go. It's not totally smooth, it's a little bubbly. So over the flowers in particular, I'm going to add another layer of that Versamark ink and re-emboss. So this is where I had my ink. Still on screen. Is this the one I used? Yes. So I'm just going to go over those flowers again, just so that at least the flowers aren't quite as, maybe these bigger leaves aren't quite as pitted, where the powder hasn't stuck all over. Okay, I'll just pop that in there and have a look and see if this one needs any, maybe here. And here. That little flower doesn't look too bad. Just add some more down on there. And we'll do that again. See, it's stuck there. Put this in and we will do bit of heat in there. So now we have, see if I can get the light right, you can see that it's nice and shiny over the leaves and the flowers and the darker marks on the bowl. So it gives it just a little enamelled look. Then we'll grab this one out of here. You can see it's powder's stuck where it's dull there to just the places I put the Versamark. That doesn't take long to heat when you do the second time. And that's pretty stunning. I love it. I love all the different variations you can get on your pots. Right, move this out of the road. I will need this again for my sentiments, so I'll just sort of try and keep everything together over here so I don't lose it. All right, let's see what we've got now. I didn't do the flower, I've just done the vases. So we've got our background. I haven't put this one on yet, but anyway, that's going to glue onto there. And then these vases are going to sit on here. But I want something to sit them on separate to the background piece. Now we could just use the background piece. Let's bring in the one that I did earlier and we'll have a little bit of an experiment. So this is the one I did earlier. So you can see I've done my watercolour background and I've got it sitting. I need to zoom out a bit again, don't I? Zoom out, Cheryl. Hello, Angie. How are you? It's good to see you here. I'm just going to try and zoom out a fraction because we're working back full again. There we go. This is the one I did earlier, and I had planned on putting something else down here. So we're going to have the other pieces out of the Inspiring Inspirations dies. So there's this branch. Now the branch is, I've die cut out of Early Espresso, and I've done it with a piece that had sticky on the back. I'm not focusing. There we go. So that does have sticky on the back. That's going to go in here. I'm going to cut a little slit in here so that can sit in there. And then I've also die cut some of the foliage that comes in the set out of Summer Splash. And I also made sure that I put some adhesive sheet on the back of that as well. And then these are going to go onto here. So we could sit these little things just here, like that. However, I was thinking that the vases needed something else to sit on. It's not that I don't love the Summer Splash in the background, but so what I'm going to do is do a little bit of die cutting. So I was going to do white, but we've used Fluid 100 watercolour paper, so I'm going to use more of that paper, and I'm going to die cut a circle from the Stitched Shapes dies. So we'll go ahead and I'll do that. And then to keep the grey granite theme going, I pulled out some grey granite cardstock. And I'm going to use the Spotlight on Nature dies. And one of these, this one here, the paper plate one, is slightly larger than that stitched circle. So we'll die cut that. So honestly, I add so many different layers, and you might like it more simple, so we might do one that's simple and one that's a little more involved. So this piece will go on here, but this is very bright just on its own, like that. It's very bright, so I want to tone that down a little bit. So I'm going to push these out of the road, grab my this piece of paper towel will work. And one of those blocks I had before had Shy Shamrock on it, which was this one, I think. Which one was Shamrock? Yep, definitely that one. And we'll use a bigger, the larger size in the aqua painter, in the water brush. So it's here in my water. Pick up some of the water and just slosh it all around all over the piece. Now it's already got some green ink in it. It might even be enough, but we'll add a little bit more. So just trying to find a spot for everything so I don't knock it over. So we'll just take a little bit of the Shamrock. So it's a bit darker in the centre, and then push the colour out. So sort of like blending on your watercolour paper. Doesn't need to go right to the edge. Just something like that. So I need to dry that's got a mark on there. I better hide that. There's something on my fingers. Now, don't do this at home. Use your tweezers so you don't burn your fingers. But it does need to be dry before we stick it on. So we'll stick it onto here. Let's do that now. Put it down for a minute. That looks like extra little grey granite touch there. And we'll glue this piece onto the front of our card while we've got the glue out. Okay, trick is to get it in the centre. How does that look? Okay, now I think this can go down onto here. Oops, water everywhere. Look at these brushes, I think. This can go down to here, and then the vases can go on top of here. And then I'm going to put a sentiment in here. Let's do that one, and then we can put this one without the circles, and we'll see which one we like better. Alright, so I'm just going to glue everything down flat, because I've got all these delicate dies to put in, but I do need to put my stick in here first. So we need to make a little slit in this vase. We'll do it from this side because that's the side that little leafy thing will come out of. That. Okay, so let's glue this on first. Get that down and stuck. We'll put this over here because I know the other little vase is going to go here somewhere. Something like that. Down, right. This has got to go in here like that. So I'm going to pop this flat because we've got these bits, but this one I may pop up, I'm not sure. We'll wait and see, but I need to get this one down. So we will just going to put a little bit of glue behind here just to hold that branch in place. Don't think it's going to stay there. Alright, let's get the sticky off the back of here. Just pull it out, Cheryl. This out. And this can go back in here. Maybe, like threading a needle. There we go. Okay. I'll put some glue onto this vase. Alright, now as I glue it down, I'm just going to wriggle this around to where I want it to go. And make sure your vase is straight, Cheryl. Okay, and then this one's going to cover over that little mark that we had, but I might pop that up with dimensionals, I'm not sure yet. Let's glue our little pieces of foliage on. So these are in Summer Splash. One there like that, and then this one. How the best way to put this on will be. Maybe I do like to cover up the ends of the branches, but it's a bit high, so bring it down a little bit more like that. There we go. How's that? Stick that down. So it's going to go here. Now I have already done a sentiment, which I did do for my other cards, so we're going a little bit over time, so I'm not going to emboss it now. I'll just use the one that I've already got cut out. But I think, will I put this up with dimensionals? Might add a nice touch to it, hey? Let's do that. Three dimensionals, probably the least dimensionals I've ever used in my life. Down here. That. Now let me see if I can find all these sentiments. So I used sentiment out of Beautiful Butterflies. I didn't want to do a big, and I'll show you the other one that I did and didn't like. I used Beautiful Butterflies, So Thankful, and I did it in Early Espresso. And I thought, it's just too heavy for this beautiful delicate vase and the flowers. It's just too heavy. So I eventually did it on the black, and I've cut it into all little pieces, and I'm going to mount it up onto this little, need my tweezers, this little piece here. So thankful for you. And I'll just offset them all a little bit like that, and that can go in there like that. What do you think? Does that look all right? Let's see, shall we? I'm going to mount them flat, I think, because anything else is going to just be too fussy. Where are my tweezers? Maybe this one needs to go up. I'm going to put that off, so I'll grab a small little piece of, I've got a small little black dimensional, take the top off it. That'll fit over there nicely if I do that. Yep. Because this one's going off the circle, it can be up on dimensionals, and the others can be flat. Don't you love it when Cheryl makes a decision without too much kerfuffle? So thankful. I might I might ease a little dimensional underneath there, maybe. 4. You. Thank you, ladies. It's always handy to have a colour challenge to start with. And I've been wanting to use this set again for a while. Smoosh these down a fraction. Straighten them out. There we go. Now it probably does need, and I don't have any out, a couple of little embellishments maybe in here, maybe, or maybe I'm just going too much overboard. So I did have other elements done, and they have all moved. Here's the vase. So we could do exactly the same thing, but without the circle. And just pop them on this piece here. So I've got all of the pieces. I won't do it now, but just so that you get an idea that sometimes you don't have to add everything that you ever used. Go on there like that. I'll do them both up, but I'll do it later. And then I did have a couple of other sentiments done here. Let me see if I can find them. This one's not cut into all the pieces like that. This one is 2. So thankful for you, which might look alright because there's no circle there. But then the so looks a bit funny off there, so I'd probably maybe cut them up into the 4 again. But that could be that without the circle in the background. Pop that one up over the vase a little bit. But there's another option for you if you don't like the circle. They both look good. I like them both. So that is my card for today. Now I did do that flower that you saw, and I will pop that. I haven't got an inside done up, but I will just pop that on an inside piece on the inside of the card. That one's not going to fall everywhere, so I'll just go on some white card on the inside. And that will be my project for the Colour Inspiration Challenge for this fortnight. So there we go. Successfully created another card. I'm so sorry about the big kerfuffle at the start of this. Honestly, I am so not together sometimes. I've lost my mouse. Here we go. Here she is, up here. So thank you for coming along. I'm going to change back over to me. Can I find me? Can I find me? There's me. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming along. It's always a pleasure to come along. I hate all this background here. I've moved that down so you can't see the... well, you can't see it anyway because it's gone. I just moved them so you couldn't see all the inking in the background. It's been lovely. Thank you. I'm just going to look back through the comments. Thank you, Sharon, for coming along, being my little spanner. And thanks, Barb. Thanks, Brenda. Thanks, Angie. And thanks, Monica, for when she comes back in to watch the replay. Yes, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous set, and you can make so many different vases. So, yeah, hopefully I've inspired you to get out and try this embossing technique which can be used on lots of different things, not just the vases, with the little blender pen. So you can selectively apply some clear embossing. Thank you very much, ladies. Have a lovely rest of your week and weekend, and we will hopefully see you back here next week. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.